The death of Pope Francis has set in motion a process steeped in tradition and ritual as the Catholic Church moves from one papacy to the next. We take a look now at what happens next as preparations are made for Francis's funeral and the process of electing a new pope.
When a pope dies, nothing is improvised. Ancient traditions provide a detailed playbook for the Catholic Church as it mourns the death of its leader and prepares to elect his successor. First come the confirmation of death and the sealing of the Pope's private home, presided over by the Vatican's so-called camerlengo, who also informed the world of Pope Francis's passing.
Con profondo dolore devo annunciare la morte del nostro Santo Padre Francesco.
It's the camerlengo who will run the Holy See administration until a new pontiff has been elected. He will also prepare Pope Francis's funeral. Over the coming days, the Pope's coffin will be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica, where the public will have a chance to pay their respects as they did here with John Paul II. What will be different this time is the burial. Pope Francis, who became known as the People's Pope, will not be buried in the Vatican, like many of his predecessors. He's chosen instead to be buried in his favorite basilica in central Rome, in a simple wooden casket. Over the next few days, cardinals from around the world will assemble in Rome and begin the highly secretive process of electing a new pope. After 9 days of official mourning, the so-called conclave will take place in the Sistine Chapel, which will be swept for listening devices and which voting cardinals aren't allowed to leave, except to sleep and eat. They will cast ballots until they've reached a majority. When white smoke emerges from a specially built chimney, the world will know, habemus papam, we have a pope.
So an elaborate process set in motion here. Let's speak to DW's religious affairs correspondent Bernd Riegert in Brussels for more. Bernd, we heard there about the conclave that will take place to elect a new pope. Which cardinals are seen as contenders to become the next pope?
The short list of these cardinals as a candidate for pope is not that short. They're actually about 12 cardinals that the Vaticanista, the expert in the Vatican, are talking about. And let me just name 3 of them from the list. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, for example, from the Philippines. He is called the Asian Francis, so he would continue the work of Pope Francis. He is a candidate. And also Cardinal Pietro Parolin. He is the Secretary of State of the Vatican, so the right-hand man of Pope Francis, and he is a kind of a bridge between the conservative and the progressive arm of the Catholic Church. And another one is Cardinal Peter Turkson from Ghana, a diplomat in the Vatican. He would be the first of course, candidate from Africa. And there's also another candidate from Africa, Cardinal Fridolin Abongo Bizunga from Congo, Archbishop in Kinshasa. He's a kind of a rising star in the Catholic Church in Africa. As I said, these are only a few of the men that are eligible. And you never know, because the conclave produces lots of surprises. You don't know the dynamics within this secretive society, more than 130 cardinals that will vote. They need a 2/3 majority, and it's very unclear who actually will win. There will be a little bit of a campaign before that. The cardinals will meet and talk to each other, but still it's very hard to predict who will actually be the next pontiff.
And regardless of who it is, can you tell us a little bit about what the challenges are that lie ahead for the next pope?
Yeah, the next pope has to decide if he will continue the path of reforms in theologist things and also in canon law that Pope Francis opened up? Or will he go back to a more conservative leaning arm of the Church? He has to preserve the unity of the Catholic Church, with its 1.3 billion believers around the world. And he also has to reinstate or to preserve the moral authority of the Catholic Church. In the West, in Europe, the image of the Catholic Church is bad and going down. In other parts of the world, the Catholic Church is striving. And so this will be a big struggle between conservative and progressive, and the next Pope has to manage that.
Now, one thing that Pope Francis struggled to address during his time was the persistent scandal of clerical sex abuse. To what extent do you think that that might overshadow his legacy?
That will be certainly a part of his legacy, because he was the first Pope that really addressed the issue and confessed that the Church as an institution has failed and has covered up lots of crimes in the past. He developed, when he first started as a Pope, he didn't have that view, but over the years he changed actually his attitude. But still there are critics that say that is still not enough when it comes to the compensation of victims and to changes in canon law. There's still a lot of unfinished business to do.
Thank you so much for that update. We've been speaking with DW's religious affairs correspondent, Bernd Riegert.